Hey everyone, well, meet Stuart Adams. I've said to him he's got a smile on the camera because, you end up with these really horrible faces. So tonight, this is a really peaceful kind of interview for me because Stuart is now a yin yoga master. So let's just talk about how you got to that. All right, so we'll go way, way, way back, and we've talked about how it all started. So originally, right in the beginning, you were in music, and bands, and having fun and all that stuff, and riding skateboards, like something that I've never been able to do without falling off. So, I'd really admire people that can ride a skateboard. So you're in your early 20s,
Yep. Then,
riding a skateboard, music, bands, you're a drummer?
That's correct,
Do
yep.
you still drum today?
Occasionally.
So is that something that just doesn't interest you anymore? You just haven't found the time for it?
I'm not as passionate these days with it. It's good to have a little break from this kind of thing from time to time.
Yeah.
But I've done it. My dad was a drummer, so I've been in it my whole life.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Right, so I know a few drummers, and I know how passionate they are because they have to be, because they have to have that level of energy.
Yeah.
And this is kind of like from way, way, way on the other side of the spectrum, isn't it, for you?
Absolutely.
Being a drummer and being into the yoga.
Absolutely.
So, and correct me if I, don't use the right terms or anything, because I'm trying to sit like him, and you can't see that bit, but it's just like I just can't get that leg up, where it's meant to go. So, forgive me. So let's go to the day of the accident, riding the skateboard, and explain to us what physically happened to you there.
Sure. So it was in the evening in Sydney, and I was catching up with a couple of old friends of mine from around that time, and skateboarding at a spot which I'd skated at probably hundreds of times. Knew the spot quite well, and it was particularly in this moment I was looking for doing a trick from above some stairs, over the stairs and footpath onto the road.
What?
So
really?
Yeah.
And that's something that you do all the time, right? I mean, I see some of these guys just riding around, and I just go, wow, how did they do that?
It was, I tell you what, skateboarding, when you become a skateboarder or something of that sort, you view the terrain that we all walk around on very differently, and the whole world becomes a bit of a playground, if you will, in terms of how you can interact with it. And so looking at these stairs, which I had looked at for quite some time before this night, and thought I want to give it a go, and yeah, through that act and through that process of launching myself into it, I came up short a couple of times, and on one instance, a little too much speed, a little heavy in the landing, and I took the impact sort of from the base of my spine into my lower back, into the lumbar spine. And sort of bounced through the crash, also hit my thoracic spine, and caused some damage, basically the full length of my spine. So some fractures, some of the transverse process, the little wing kind of parts of your vertebra broken off, discs as well that were then protruding and blown out of their place. And yeah, it wasn't too...
That's messy, isn't it?
It was a little messy.
Painful.
It was.
Wow, was anyone with you when it happened?
So just a couple of guys that I was skateboarding with, but do you know what? It was part of that act and part of that kind of, I'll call it an art form, not a sport, but you tend to live with pain from when you fall and crash trying things and trying to progress. And I got up and I could still walk. So I got up and was
Should you have been walking though? Probably not.
Well, do you know, I don't know, but I still could. So I did. I got up and
wow.
moved around and
because you basically got a broken back.
Yeah. So I was in pain that night, but I sort of put it down to I've been skating for a few hours, a few bumps and bruises here and there, and eventually, though, I went home that night, slept in my own bed. The next day, the next morning, I was rostered to work at a pub where I used to pull beers, and I went in to do the opening shift by myself, and I couldn't stand, I couldn't sit, I could barely walk, and I thought, I better go get this looked at. So that's when I went to the hospital, and they told me of, the trauma to the spine and what had gone on.
Wow. So what did that mean for you then, as far as health-wise and your living, the way you were living, and what did that mean for you?
Yeah, so it sort of brought things to an abrupt halt. I was a very sort of busy, very go person at that stage, working, playing in bands, skateboarding, always doing something, partying, that kind of rock and roll lifestyle. So there was a lot of activity, and all of a sudden I had to hit the pause button, and I had to basically stop and evaluate and assess the situation, what was happening with my physical body, and really start to prioritise some things in that moment.
Were you living on your own then, or did you have a girlfriend, or?
I had a housemate at that stage, an incredible housemate who...
It's always good to hear. They're hard to find, those incredible ones.
They are. And so I was very lucky. I was very blessed at that stage that I wasn't on my own, and I did have a good support system around me of friends and people who were checking in with me. I had this period of time after hospital, which was a brief, visit to hospital, but when I came home, people took the time out of their days and their routine to come and visit me and, drop off, things
and that's really important, isn't it? Like
hugely.
Like because, so often, people go into hospital and they'll have all the visitors in the world come and see them in hospital, but it's when they actually go home. And it's just like, when you lose someone, everyone comes to the funeral, but what happens after those really dark days that, that's when you need the network around you. And like, that's when people need you. Like I'm talking to you out there because, if you know someone that's been injured or something, they've spent some time in hospital, and, take the time to go and check up on them, because it is after the event that they really need, people like you, like friends to turn up. And like you say, it might be a simple meal cooked for you, but at least it's the fact that you don't have to get up and do it, but you still have to eat, and I've been that person in bed for a long time, and I know what it's like it's not good, because even as far as having a shower or, you need help, you need help to do, it's all the little things, like even just cut my toenails. I know I shouldn't laugh, but I do remember asking one of my girlfriends to do that, and she said to me, "This is true friendship. This is really true friendship." Yeah. I went, "Yeah, righto. Oh, I'm that's one up. That's one I owe you. I know that." And I don't think I've ever cut a toenail, but so we're looking at the fact that you're at home, you've got your broken back, can't do anything, so you couldn't go to work, you couldn't earn money.
No, and once again, I was very lucky. I had the support of my housemate at that stage to help me get through some of these periods and some of that, definitely that dark time. Very lucky for that.
So did it get to the stage like, well, obviously you've gone backwards and forwards to doctors and things like that, and what have they told you? Operation, or what did they want to do?
So the initial thing that had happened at that stage, I was much younger than I am now. I was incredibly fit and lean, very strong core. So although there was damage to the spine, it wasn't as bad as it could have been. And so I was strapped in ice for periods of time to help sort of shrink connective tissue and just have things kind of pull back in. And I sought after more of the Eastern style of treatment initially, so getting gua sha, which is to scrape the skin and alleviate toxins, and acupuncture and these kind of methods, some massage.
Were you into this sort of thing anyway before this, or was this something that you were looking for an alternative that you didn't want to have an operation or?
I was curious with these things. I didn't really have too much experience myself. I had friends that had some experience or connection with it. So the opportunity came and I just tended more towards that myself. So, and that really helped a lot. And it brought my body back to a point where through some exercise and just being mindful of my movements and what I was doing, I was able to heal rather well. And
being young, that helps.
And
physical, yeah.
Youth, definitely was helpful at that stage.
So what was the one thing that you actually noticed to help the most first up?
Initially, I'd say was, funnily enough, it would be taking the time to relax the body and the mind and try and not stress out about, stuff, things, life. Just take that time, really, when hitting that pause button, actually pause and allow the body to heal and be very mindful of the movements. Don't expect to move in the same manner that I had been.
Because when you're stressed out about something, which, a lot of people be laying there and they'd be thinking, how am I going to pay the rent this week, or where am I going to get this from or that from? Because that stress just makes everything lock up, doesn't it? So if you can be more like in tune with, the flow, and as hard as it is, to be mindful of what you're doing. And this would relate to a lot of things, not just someone someone's got a back injury, but, in all medical conditions, in all things that are going on, that, it is so important to just take stock of what you are or who you are, and to really, look within and relax and try and, like you say, give everything a break from being so tense, so it flows a lot better. Yeah. I'm not the master, but I think I'm doing a pretty good job.
Do you know what this is? And this is where it kind of, the irony of it, where it stems into what I do these days. Practices which enable us to act more from or be motivated more from the parasympathetic side of our nervous system, which is more about relaxing and the rest and digest with the body and stress-free, as opposed to the sympathetic side, which is the stress hormones, and that's the body's alarm system when something isn't right, and this is where we tend for that reaction of fight, flight, which no doubt you would have heard of. So at the time of my accident, having that trauma to then try and come into that state of mind of relaxing, allowing the body to switch sides with the nervous system and allow it to heal, which takes time. And even at that stage, in the early days of that, it was something I didn't really know too much about. I wasn't very well educated on it, but there was an instinctive side or an intuitive side that was tending more to that. So
it's all about the foods and that too that you ingest, isn't it?
Yeah. Hydration of the body.
So were you on pain relief for this?
I did, yeah. I've had some, various degrees of pain medication when my back was an issue, from anti-inflammatories to which I used to take quite a lot of at one point when my back would be bad, to more heavy sort of opiate-based painkillers, as well as various other things which just help to numb the body, and in the times when the body is really in pain and stressed out and it's affecting your ability to move, I found for myself anyway, you're just willing to do just about anything to alleviate and escape from that pain.
You do, you get in that desperate situation.
Yeah, but it doesn't fix what's happened. It doesn't solve the issue at hand.
Just band-aiding it.
Just band-aids, so it took some time as well, learning how to, get around that and try and come from a different angle.
You told me a story when I spoke to you some weeks ago about how you were trying to get to the bathroom and that you were like down on your elbows and dragging your body and I mean, did you ever think that you'd be sitting here like this way back then?
Not in those moments. And yeah, that particular day that that you refer to was just excruciating, trying to wake up and get out of bed, and that routine movement, that regular movement that lots of the time we don't think about. We just kind of hop out of bed and 2 feet to the floor and off we go. It just didn't happen. It just would not work. And each movement trying to get out was excruciating. Trying to get my feet to the floor just seemed impossible. I basically had to spill out of bed onto the floor, which still wasn't comfortable. And yeah, I needed to go through that morning routine, go to the bathroom, and it was such a mission to get there, crawling on the floor, and then to get to that place and to say, okay, I'm on the floor at this level here, but I need to get up to here.
Oh, yeah.
And looking at that just seemed like Mount Everest in that moment. It just seemed impossible. And it was a bit of panic stations. It was a lot of anxiety, a lot of concern of what do I do now? At this stage, I was home on my own. There was nobody that I could ask for help. And so that was a lot of grit and determination to say, okay, I'm going to get there. This is going to hurt. It's already pain. So persevering or pushing through that, and I mean, it was one of the most horrible experiences of my life. And yeah, to answer your question, if the version of me could see into the future, that I'd be sitting in such a way now and pain-free, I wouldn't have believed it in that moment.
And like you say, like that's just a small gesture. Like that's a daily routine that we all take for granted.
Yes.
Because I can just remember being on crutches once and made a cup of tea, like in a teacup and saucer, and just, as if I normally do, and thought, right, how do I get that teacup and saucer over there in that chair when I'm on crutches? It's just those little things that you take for granted, like you just do every day and you don't think anything of it until you're faced with that situation. Yeah. And you just go, well, you know what, when I'm better, I am just going to be, you just wait till I'm better. So I mean, I devise little inventions and everything like that to get teacups over, and, friends of mine wanted to film that, of course, but it's those little things in life that you take for granted, that in that situation that you just go, wow, I'm not going to be like that anymore. Just to get up and go to the bathroom of a morning on my own is going to be a wonderful, wonderful feeling. Yeah. And then you've gone from that, and then how did you get into yoga? Like, how did you get from, I'm just trying to visualize how you got from being on the floor to there to yoga.
Yeah. So it was quite a journey. I took an initial interest in yoga and the sort of the posture practice of it, asana as it's called in yoga. Asana, yeah, which is a Sanskrit word, basically means seat. But these are kind of the poses with the physical body that people visualize when you think of yoga. I was curious about the practice and the exercise of it. I'd already had somewhat of although probably irregular, like some form of meditation practice, but to get involved into the physical side of it, I was very curious about. And I'd actually seen a great teacher, although I didn't know he was a teacher at the time, at a beach in Sydney doing his own practice one day. I was laying on the beach with some friends, and this guy was just a picture of health, and he went into an inversion and, basically standing on his head, you could say, on the beach. And I started to view the world from his perspective, and I thought, wow, this guy, from where he stands right now, he has the whole world on the top of his head. And it just blew my mind. I thought, I'm going to do this one day. And so it took a number of years, though, to be at that stage. Some recovery and rehabilitation that took some time, and re-strengthening the body. And some experts at that time had said, maybe don't start a yoga practice just yet. So I listened to their words. But through this time, I was starting to get more into the yin side, which I didn't even know existed as a form of yoga at that stage. So,
were you a carpenter at this stage, or?
This was probably around the time I started getting into that as well.
So you're thinking that that's your career move?
I was thinking at that stage, yep.
Definitely not yoga being a career.
Definitely not.
Wow.
Definitely not.
Poles apart, isn't it, really?
And so learning from a few people some really primitive forms of yin posture or stretching, the body and my.
So what's the difference with like yin and yoga? Like why do they refer to as yin yoga?
So there's two sides within the energy kind of system, if you will. You would have heard of the yin and the yang kind of effect. So yin is more, in terms of yoga postures, it's more of a longer hold, relaxing a target area of the body, softening, being mindful with the approach and staying for longer periods of time, maybe a minimum of 3 to 5 minutes, sometimes longer. The yang approach is maybe more about strength and balance, significantly shorter periods of time in the pose. Maybe it's just a few breaths before moving, and a lot more movement based. So the yin side, when we linger or marinate in the pose, we're really getting into the energy body and affecting how the flow of energy is with our joints and all the connective tissues. So really good for what I needed at that stage, when my body was so tight and sore, and to be able to work into these connective tissues to bring back a better range of movement and more kind of flexibility, if you will.
So how did the transition come from carpentry to yoga? Like how did that all happen? Like I'm just trying to visualize it, that's all.
So I found then, carpentry's it's a quite a strenuous job, very taxing on the body. And so I found that I felt better in my physical body when I would do some of this practice at home after work. And so I became regular in stretching out my body, and I just started trying to apply some kind of meditation practice to it. Little did I know, though, that here was this practice already in existence out there of yin yoga, which is basically that style of practice. I would then go on to, work with some other guys who, everybody's got niggles with their body, sore
and
lower
always got
back
problems, haven't they? Labouring and stuff like that, and
so
using machinery and
sharing this practice with some of these guys to say, hey, like, try this, check this out, and they started joining me in some of these jobs that I'd be on, and starting to do a stretch after work or at lunchtime, and feeling the benefits for it, feeling much better for it. So I thought, there's something to this, and later on still I found out, here's this thing, yin yoga, and I'd gone to a couple of classes and went, hang on a minute, this is kind of what I've been doing on my own intuitively, and sharing with some other people who, it cracks me up, because even at that stage, some of these blokes would say, do you teach this? Have you been doing this for long? And I'm saying, no, mate, like, this is just kind of what I do. But then I came to, sometime after that, to go to my first teacher training and have the opportunity to actually learn from a great, teacher. Joe Fee was his first teacher who I went and studied under. And I went into that week of training, and it just it really did spin me out because I thought, this is so familiar. I've done this before, whether it's in a previous lifetime or, I mean, certainly in this existence.
You just took to it.
I'd done something.
Yeah.
It just felt right. It just felt natural. So
did you do Reiki at the same time, or was that something that came later?
I was starting with a Reiki practice, I think just before doing that first training, and so deepening my meditation practice and expanding my awareness of the energy body and the energy realm. Yeah.
And just tell us about what happened with the guy on the beach, because I thought that was pretty fascinating. Like the original guy that he's told you that he's sitting at the beach and, you know, he's doing his headstand, as I'd put it.
Yeah, so he, and as I said, I didn't know that he was a teacher or even a great teacher on that occasion. And it was only, I unfortunately never had the opportunity to go to one of his classes in Sydney. And then it wasn't until just a few months ago now that I was actually working at a music festival in between the Christmas and New Year period, doing one-on-one yin with people and energy work, Reiki, and some mediumship work with people. And going into this festival, I saw his name that he would be there, and I thought, wow, I'd really like to meet this guy, Simon Borg Olivier. Hopefully I said his surname right, but I thought I'd really like to cross paths with this guy and thank him. And the day before the festival started, we literally walked around from different sides of, I think it was seriously walking from different sides of a tree to be side on with each other and shoulder to shoulder, and we just looked at each other and said hello, and I introduced myself, he introduced himself, and I said, oh, I know who you are, and I started telling him the story, and he was just mind blown as well.
So how many years or something from that first time that you saw him to when you ran into him that day?
That's a good question. I would say it's more than 10 years.
Wow.
It would be...
That is double wow.
Potentially 13, 14 years maybe.
So you seeing him changed your whole direction in life?
It did.
And now you've been training up and you're about to, like, you've travelled the world with this.
Starting to, yeah.
Yeah, so now you're off to...
I'm off to Hong Kong.
Hong Kong, yeah.
Next week I fly out to Hong Kong for about a 10-day period to assist my teacher, this first teacher I trained with, Joe Fee. I've also been lucky enough to go to New Zealand to work with one of my other primary teachers there, Joe Barnett, and assist him with a module, helping to train and facilitate this practice for other yoga teachers to increase their knowledge. And then later this year, actually in November, off to Bali for the month, and that's where both of my teachers come together and they deliver a month of training for teachers from all around the world, and very grateful to be part of the team for that month as well as a mentor, teacher, trainer.
Wow, so it's your life now.
It's
your everyday life.
It's starting to become, well, it's an everyday practice for me. It's something that I like to keep regular, and certainly to share that practice with others. You know,
and how's your back now?
It's fantastic. It feels really good. Thank you.
That's incredible, isn't it? Like, so, you know, the alternative has certainly worked for you.
Yeah.
And it is worth a try, because what have you got to lose, really?
Yeah.
I mean, before, and I know some people, I'm not saying, you know, don't go and have your spinal operation. I am not saying that at all. But I'm just saying, you know, it's worth the time to investigate if something like this might work for you, and at least have a go at it, because you don't know what it could bring to you.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just sitting here thinking I'd love to be able to just sit on the couch like that. If only you could see how I am. But, you know, yeah, at least to give it a go. Like, that's just something that, you know, there's always something else that you can try. And it doesn't hurt to at least try it. And it is a very relaxing feeling, you know, that to have that, I don't know, to me I find it very graceful and beautiful, like yoga. And, you know, Reiki, I mean, I just think Reiki is the most amazing thing I've experienced in my lifetime. Like, and why is that producer laughing over there? Because I'm trying to sit like that. There'll be no lotus position here tonight, I can tell you from me. So what is your favourite position?
My favourite position? Look, do you know what? I knew you would ask me this question. and I would have to say, and it may sound a little corny to people that have a yoga practice, but Shavasana would be my favourite, which
sounds beautiful.
It is.
So how do you do it? What do you do?
Do you know what? Shavasana, it's probably the most difficult yoga pose out of all of them.
Oh, really?
All you need to do is lay on the floor and you're nailing it. That's it. It's not difficult at all. It's purely laying on the floor. It's Shavasana is the Sanskrit word for it. In English, we might call it corpse pose. Basically, it's something that you could incorporate into the end of a practice where you lay down, you rest the body for however long. In a practice of yin, we might do it a number of times in the practice after therapeutically stressing our bones and our connective tissue. We might then lay down into a shorter version of that corpse pose, what we call the rebound, and it's just laying on the floor, free of effort, just allowing the whole body to relax and feel and observe what's happening in your body.
Oh, that's one position I can try. I know that.
I think
I'll probably be really good at it too, straight up.
It's my favourite.
So I've got to show everyone this beautiful logo that you've got. So I'm going to attempt to come up to the, can we see that? Can we get there? Are we there? We're a bit to the right. We're right now. Isn't that a beautiful logo, everyone? So I'm just going to flip it because that's got all of Stuart's details on there too. So if you need to contact him and you want to learn more or you want to try it, so I'll just go back to my sitting position. And you know, like every week when I have my guests on the couch, I ask them to, you know, look down the camera and talk to someone in the audience, because to me there is someone out there that's been through what you've been through. There'll be someone there, or someone that knows someone that's gone through a similar situation as yourself. And, you know, I know those really dark days, they can be really dark, you know, and you just feel like you're never going to get out of them. But you're sitting here today, look at you, you've got a successful business, you're travelling with it, you're happy, your back's fine, you're doing really well. So just rewinding back to the beginning, and you might have thought that perhaps, you know, you would never get out of that situation, that could mean surgery or wheelchair or anything like that. So do you think that you could give a message of hope to someone that's out there right now, that's watching this show, that is going through right now what you went through, or a similar situation? Like, what would be a message of hope you would give that person?
Yeah, I would say to anybody and everybody viewing this out there who is experiencing this, that firstly I'd like to say I can empathise with you, I can feel your pain, and I know the frustration that you could be going through. If you are seeking help with this, then do you know what? Look through a number of resources. If you go to one doctor or specialist and you're not satisfied, you're not happy, if you think there's more to your case, go to some more people. Check out, you know, not just a chiropractor, check out physio, check out an osteo, go to a myotherapist. Get as much information as you can, and don't settle with just one opinion. And I tell you what, if you're living with these kind of things like a really sore back and pain with the body, know that you don't need to. You can sort out then alternative things, you know, like yoga practices when the time is right, things like alternative energy medicine with Reiki as an example, these kind of things that will benefit your energy body, your mental state, which has such a huge impact on what's happening in your body physically. And you know what? It's not going to be something that fixes itself overnight. It takes It takes some persistence, it takes some patience, and it might take also making a few, big choices like cutting out caffeine and alcohol for periods of time, changing your diet, finding a version of exercise that's suitable, and small steps along the way, and be persistent and stick at it so that you can notice the small increases and benefits. So you can notice those little milestones that, hey, today I can go to the toilet pain-free. Hey, today I can actually get my shoes and socks on by myself. It's a milestone. These kind of the little things. And when you start to see the little things and become aware of it, keep going. And if you do fall into that trap and you're going back into the darkness, if you can, reach out, get some help, chat with somebody, vent what's on your mind and on your chest. That helps.
Which is really important to share that.
It helps a lot.
When you're in
process.
that situation, you've got to, talk to someone, like ring Lifeline. If you've got to get on the phone to someone, I keep saying this each and every week, get onto Lifeline if you don't know where to ring. There are plenty of organisations out there that just Google it. Just try and find someone that's close to you. And, go to a friend, talk to them, because I know it's like to have pain. It can really send you batty sometimes, like to the extent that you just feel like you just can't cope. You need to talk to someone. You need to tell someone about it, a good friend. And then to others, I'm saying to you, if you know someone in hospital now, great that you go and visit them in hospital. But when they go home, that's when they really need you. Go and check up on them and go and see if they need a meal cooked, or, just spend the time and, take the time and go and see them. And, it's been a great interview, Stuart.
Thank you.
Awesome. And
if I could just offer one more thing, though, as well, to say to these people, especially for the guys out there, if they're feeling a little unsure about stepping into the yoga world per se, for fear of judgment, a lot of people say, I can't do yoga, I'm not flexible. Yoga isn't about the flexibility at all. Especially in the space that I hold, and I know there's a lot of other teachers hold space in the same way, there's no judgment, there's no expectation. It's about just stepping into a space in the version of you in that present moment.
And doing what you can achieve.
And doing what you can in that moment, and just being on that path to slowly improve physically and mentally, and have that confidence that when you step in there on that day, that it's okay. Everybody had their first time in a class. Everybody had their first time. With everything.
Yeah, that's how we learn. Yeah.
You make friends, and before you know it, hopefully some time has passed, your practice becomes regular, and you think, wow, what a positive change this has made for me, and your relationships around you and everything. So
yeah, and hopefully, someone out there will try it and love it and let us know what you think. But I'm just going to say a little thank you to a couple of people out there, and we can't thank everyone, but Lance Baker, thank you so much. I did interview Lance, and you'll be doing some work with him in his studio. Shireen Lowe, thank you so much. Chris Rourke, Glenda Ireland, Narelle Michelle, thank you, Narelle, I've interviewed you too. Wayne Lennon, thank you for joining in tonight. I really appreciate that. Tracy Johnson, Amber Jane Sterling, and Peter Egan Lee, thank you so much. Susie Jill Juno, thank you, Susie. Sharon Sharp and Jenny Brown, thank you, Jenny. Jenny I've interviewed too. What an amazing woman. You've got to get and watch her interview. Awesome stuff. So, thank you to everyone. Thanks for each and every week supporting me and my dream, because this is about my dream too. And, and without people like you tuning in every second week or every week and believing in what I'm doing, how's this show going to go? So thank you so much for having the faith in me as well. And, that's it. Strike a pose.
Namaste.
Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone. I'll see you next week. Bye for now. Know you're going to be okay.